Hey, my name is Jobby, and we're looking at the Hiya Toys Godzilla 2019 and the Hiya Toys Mothra 2019, both from the movie Godzilla King of the Monsters. Cause what better way to celebrate the month of love than with your woman exploding to give you a brief power-up? That's pretty much what happened to my ex-wife. We're gonna start off with Godzilla. What is this, like my fifth time looking at this design? But what's gonna separate this MonsterVerse Godzilla from the other ones I've talked about is A, the price point. Links in the description, by the way. Although original flavor is out of stock, you can still get nacho cheese. And B, the relative quality compared to the price. We'll see if Hiya Toys' hot streak was just a fluke, or if they can truly be an affordable competitor to the increasingly decreasing SH Monster Arts. And I'm glad to say, the painting and the sculpting on this figure is awesome. This is an incredible recreation of how he looked in the movie, from what little I remember. I mean, I did watch the movie, but I can't tell you a damn thing about the plot. What I can say is that this sculpt feels way more movie accurate than the SH Monster Arts version. Is it just me? Am I taking crazy pills? I forgot to take those. No shade on the SH Monster Arts sculpt, it still looks great, but it has more of a gangly, antagonistic look that's more fitting with the Godzilla vs. Kong Godzilla. The Hiya Toys, on the other hand, captures the sort of roundness and heroic quality, especially in the face. He's less vicious looking and more stern. And even with the Hiya Toys Godzilla vs. Kong, you can see that I'm not crazy. Leave a comment. There's a subtle difference here, and props to Hiya Toys for capturing those subtle differences. And as much as I like the Godzilla vs. Kong figure, there were a few areas of bullshit. Not so much with this guy. Hiya Toys definitely improved their sculpt here. The neck no longer has that noticeable gap, and the jaw hinge joint no longer has that unsightly pin. This truly looks like an organic creature, helped along with a great use of dry brushing and paint washes to emphasize the beautifully sculpted skin detail. Love how the spines look as well. Another big difference between KOTM and GVK, the lines on the King of the Monster are more prominent, as if they were opening up the panel lines for a blue repaint. As beautiful as this guy looks, there are some visual flaws. I really talked up that head sculpt, and yes, it is very good, but the eyes leave a little to be desired. I don't know what the hell went on in Hiya Toy sweatshops. That's a joke, by the way. Don't sue. And while I would be justifiably upset by this, at least I'm not paying almost $100 for this type of quality. And I'm not even mad about the lack of accessories. Although I still hold true to my belief that every Godzilla figure should come with an atomic breath part, I suppose the cope is easier coming off of SH Monster Arts. $50 for a figure that looks pretty damn great and is genuinely solid, I really don't mind. And yes, there are zero parts of this figure that feel like they're about to break off. The ball joints still feel nice and fluid, with a sturdiness that encourages you to play with and pose the figure. Ball joint at the head. Every ball joint can be a swivel. And just like in SH Monster Arts figures, most of the ball joints here are dumbbell ball joints, which allows them to look up that far. He can't really look all the way up to replicate that famous shot, so points to SH Monster Arts in that case. And down that far, which is not down at all, but still not a bad range of articulation. Hinge joint at the mouth, and even opposable tongue. Ball joint at the shoulder, a full 360 rotation, arm moves out, elbow swivel, bend at the elbow, ball joint at the wrist, every ball joint, nails are pretty ball joint at the waist, which is pretty limited, but it works as a decent swivel, a slight crunch, and little to no arcing back. Ball joint at the hips, a full rotation at that, a decent spread, fake thigh swivel, bend at the knee, and you can't hear it, but this feels like a clicky joint. What? More Godzilla figures should have that. Kinda, sorta, calf swivel. Yeah. Ball joint at the ankle, every ball joint, and a decent pivot. And before we forget, 9 ball joints at the tail, which is not nearly as much as an SH Monster Arts tail, but it can still pull off some pretty curvy and natural poses. So sure, this thing isn't the most articulated ever, but I'd argue that he doesn't have to be. And also hard to be upset when the figure is this big. I mean, still not as big as I'd like a Godzilla to be, but big enough. unlike me. Here's Figma Modic Anime, Hiya Toys Godzilla 2021, The Magic Square Light of Peace, my previous review, the Star Toys Commander, not Blitzwing, and the SH Monster Arts Godzilla 2019. In my opinion, the SH Monster Arts figure is the better figure. It's more posable, it's got more precise painting, and it's one of the few SH Monster Arts figures to include an atomic breath part. However, in the current economic hellscape that we live in, the Hiya Toys Godzilla is a worthy alternative. The fact that you can get a figure that looks this good at this price, goddamn miracle. And I hope Hiya Toys keeps up that pace. Not just with their upcoming figures, but with the next one that we're about to review. The Hiya Toys King of the Monsters Mothra, or should I say Queen of the Monsters, is the only other Mothra figure that I own. But you already knew I was a fake Godzilla fan. But the SH Monster Arts Mothra left a little bit to be desired. So how about the Hiya Toys figure? Well, a significant upgrade from the SH Monster Arts version. First of all, let's prop it up on the included stand, which just plugs into any of these holes. 4 hinge joints in total, and a swivel at each joint. And you could plug in this included clip at the tip, which simply clips on to the main girl herself. You also get these 2 H pieces, which seem to plug in at the bottom of the base for some reason. I don't get it, leave a comment. And having her propped up like this, you can truly appreciate that the painting and sculpting on this thing is amazing. Basking in the glory of this figure makes me realize just how off the SH Monster Arts version was. Now, a figure doesn't have to be movie accurate to look good, but come on, where the hell did Bandai get all this orange from? It's a little too current political candidate. The movie design clearly had this nice cool shade of blue that is beautifully rendered on this figure. The markings on the wings look realistic as well, and the texture makes it look that much more like a real moth. I'd be hungry for a second there. This figure is a virtually perfect recreation of how she looks like in the movie. Looking at this thing makes me wonder what went wrong with Godzilla. Mothra's face is rendered pretty much perfectly. Someone must have been asleep at the sweatshop. Just kidding. Just kidding. And for such a tiny thing, she feels really sturdy. I mean, the wings, if you notice, are relatively gigantic, but the body does a great job at supporting their weight. She's got a ton of presence in a lightweight, sturdy package. Her joints are also really sturdy, making posing her a nice experience. 0 articulation at the head, missed opportunity, but you do get a rotation at her arm, ball joints at her second set of arms, every ball joint, rotation at her legs, and the ball joints at the hip allow for a barely there spread. You get a swivel at her wing, hinge joint, and the same thing on her second set of wings. You even get a ball joint at the waist and every ball joint, which allows for a crunch and an arcing back. She looking kinda... Posability is not bad at all, especially considering the scale. As for accessories, besides the stand, nothing. I don't really know what she would come with. A stick of dynamite so you could blow her up. Size comparison time. This wingspan is impressive. Here's Modica, Godzilla, Prime, my previous review, the Hiya Toys King of the Monsters Godzilla, and the SH Monster Arts Mothra. The Hiya Toys version wins by a landslide. Even without the greater movie accuracy, this figure just looks better, it's painted better, and it feels a lot more sturdy. And the best part is, you don't have to break into Area 51 to get it. And let me just combine them real quick. I'm slowly being won over to the Hiya Toys cause. If they keep making Godzilla figures at this quality, at these prices, I might have to jump the SH Monster Arts ship. And of course, if they decide to do more Toho monsters, that would be great. But for now, I'm eagerly awaiting the arrival of their alien. Seems like this is the month for fuckable bugs.